Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. It is Wednesday, January 2nd, 2019. Caught myself there. Welcome, Smaulgld Game Changers. Tonight's topic is 2018's secret. Hold on a minute. First I said 2019. Start again. Tonight's topic, 2018's hidden secrets of gold's game changer and dollar collapse from the 1988 Economist cover. So I don't know what's wrong tonight. 2018 ended this year. No. Let's start over. We are now in 2019, and 2018 ended without any of the major changes that we heard about, that were supposed to happen, that were heralded by all of the YouTube channels. Gold's game changer, there was supposed to be a gold-backed yuan. The dollar was going to collapse, as it's supposed to collapse every year since every schmeekta we've ever heard of. There was a crypto that was out there, AC Chain. It was going to digitize tea and enslave humanity and usher in a world currency. And of course, there was the Economist cover, the famous Phoenix rising. Remember that? That meant that in 2018, we were going to have a world currency, and it was the end game. Well, we're going to go through all those stories tonight, but we're also going to go through 2018 gold prices in foreign currencies. Now, last night we went through gold versus silver. We're going to do a bit of that again today, but tonight we're going to focus on the performance of gold versus other currencies. But first, let's take a look at Prashanti Girl says this live. Yes, it is. I wouldn't have made all those errors at the beginning if it was a pre-recorded show. Okay, so let's take a look at what happened in the markets today before we get into all the game-changing news of 2018 and beyond. Let's take a look first at the equity markets. Well, we opened up the year on positive grounds. Dow Jones Industrial Average up 0.8%, up a little bit. That's up 18 points to 23,346. NASDAQ up a bit more, 30 points to 6665. That's up almost 0.5%. And the S&P 500 rose 0.13% or 3 points to 2510. Of note, after market, Apple fell today, or in the aftermarket, 7%. And that is because Tim Cook mentioned the forward guidance, for, I think, for the first quarter of 2019 is not going to be as good, and there's something about China. I did not listen to the conference call or the notes, but it appears that Apple is not going to have a good first quarter, and they apparently are blaming China. Now, here's an interesting note. On the stock market, generally, if you have a good January, that generally means that the whole year you'll finish in the black. Over at gold and silver, let's take a look. We have dozens of charts this evening, dozens of topics, so sit back, relax. We have a lot to cover. Lots of game-changing material here. But first, let's look at the gold and silver prices for the day. And they also went up a little bit today. Well, let's take a look. And there's the gold price. So the gold price was up 0.35%. It was up about $4 to $1,284.35. Gold has been on an upward swing for the last couple of months now. It is moving up, and so is silver. You like to see that. You like to see silver trail gold and then eventually surpass gold if you do get indeed into a longer-term bull market. We're not quite there yet. Silver closed at $15.50, up a little bit, up 7 cents to, or up almost 0.5%. And in the aftermarkets trading, silver has dropped down a little bit, down to $15.47. And gold has actually risen a little bit to $12.85, up about, $1.20. Over at, what has that done for the gold-silver ratio, you know, the unsustainable gold-silver ratio. That was another one of the big stories of 2018, that the gold-silver ratio was unsustainable. We heard that in 2017, 2016, 2015, 2014, that the natural ratio is 16-1, but really it should be 9-1 or 1-1. The whole relative rarity nonsense argument that somehow the gold-silver ratio must come down, and that means silver is set to skyrocket. Well, let's take a look at that unsustainable gold-silver ratio today, and it went up a little bit. Went up to 82.9-1, just up a little bit. It had been a little higher during the day, a bit of a rally in silver, drove it back down, and at the end of the day, gold rallied, and you can see it closed at 82.9-1, or approximately 83-1. Now, the problem with that whole concept with the gold-silver ratio is that it's been a story for about 10 years now. And take a look. Look at that chart. It just goes higher and higher. Unsustainable. At every point during this chart, you'll have a silver pumper out there saying, it's at 50-1, it's unsustainable. It's at 60-1, it's unsustainable. It's at 71, unsustainable. Silver is so valuable in our lives. We could not leave our lives without silver. 70-1, 80-1. It's so high that it's a must buy now. It's been a must buy all this time. And look at the only time it was lower. It was down in the 32-1 for a brief shining moment, shot right back up. But look where it was before it went down to 32-1. It was up around 75. This is classic. This is typical. This is the gold-silver ratio for the last 150 years. It's never 16-1. It was 16-1 for about 18 minutes in 1980. Silver does not have the monetary components left in it. It's been totally demonetized, where at least gold is somewhat considered a monetary asset. Silver is dormant money, and silver is basically jewelry, silverware, and used as an industrial metal. And so gold is essentially a jewelry metal, but does have a monetary component. And that is why you see the gold-silver ratio going higher and higher and higher. All right, well, let's now get into some of the 2018 big stories that happened. What should we start with first? Well, let's start with, I'm conflicted. Should we start with the Economist cover and then the world currency that was foretold by the Rothschilds? Or we just did the gold-silver ratio. We saw how unsustainable that was. Maybe we can do the gold-backed yuan, where all that's going to happen is the end of the petrodollar. We've got some great clips on that one because China is going to force Saudi Arabia to accept yuan, and then they're going to say, just come on over to the Shanghai Gold Exchange and turn your yuan in for gold. Oh, that they can't do that? Well, then maybe what we'll do is... well, they'll have all these yuan, and it'll just create this massive gold demand, and that'll be a game changer, and gold will skyrocket. None of that happened. Dollar collapse or AC change. Let's do dollar collapse. I always like the dollar collapse, because that's been around since end of dollar hegemony. That one's been around for 40 years, since Nixon took us off the gold standard. Dollar collapse. What people fail to realize about the dollar collapse is when Nixon took the U.S. off the gold standard, he essentially put the entire world on a fiat standard. It wasn't a gold standard. It was a dollar standard backed by gold. When there was a gold standard in the 1890s, every country backed their currency by a unit of gold. The Bretton Woods agreements from 1944 to 1971 were not a gold standard. It was the dollar backed by gold. And when Nixon said, sorry, you can't bring your dollars here anymore and get gold, he essentially said everybody is now on a fiat standard. And when you're on a fiat standard and you have no controls, you print money, you borrow money, and it doesn't matter. And that does harm the dollar. But guess what? The rest of the world does it too. And the rest of the world does it even more. And to make matters worse for those countries, they borrow in dollars. I don't see why people don't understand this. These countries with the worst currencies, they borrow as much, if not more than the United States as a percentage of GDP, and they borrow in dollars. So they need dollars. But look at this. Here you go. Dollar collapse. from 2008 to 2017. This is a real game changer here. The dollar index has just gone up in the last 10 years. Oh, but it's coming. It's been coming for 45 years. Yes, eventually the dollar will collapse, the economy will collapse, and everyone will die. Those are facts. But we hear this every year from people. And first of all, things like gold back yuan, they might not ever happen. Some of the things that people predict and get a lot of clicks over will eventually happen. So they're not technically wrong. They're just early, right? They're not wrong. They're just early. Well, here you go. Dollar collapse. It doesn't look like a collapse there for the last 10 years. Well, what about this year? Yeah, what about this year? I didn't bother to fill out the chart again, but I do have the index. Oh, there's the dollar. Hegemoning higher. There it goes. Dollar collapse in 2018. It was hegemoning higher all year because it was on its way to collapse. Then you hear the other one. It's going to rise and rise and rise, and then it'll just collapse like a supernova. People love their fantasies. Well, there you go. There's the dollar collapse story this year. We'll repeat it again next year. The dollar has been collapsing, will collapse until it eventually collapses. So I guess that story we can say was true in 2018, just as it was in 2017, 16, and 15, and 14, and 13, and so on. What else do we got? Then there was the curious case of AC Chain. I love this one. Now, this story came out. Here's the first time it came out. Breaking! Bankers' new SDR crypto blockchain will enslave humanity. And then Sean had to add 2 question marks because people said, how do you know? Well, the story here, this one was really ridiculous, and some people still believe this story. This was a company, a Chinese company, that was doing nothing more than issuing tokens that were supposedly priced in SDRs. So instead of pricing them in Chinese yuan, they used a basket of currencies that are in the SDR as a benchmark for the price of their token. And they were going to digitize it, probably are now, but I'll show you how well they're doing so. I think I'm back. Someone let me know the last thing that you heard. The last thing you heard so I can get back to it and not have to repeat myself too much. None of this is scripted, so I'll just have to figure out what I might have said. So where are we right now? Mate says you're still talking to himself. French 5, what, no audio. Okay, well, you hear me. What was the last thing that I was saying before we got cut off? Was I talking about AC Chain yet? Just started the AC Chain yet. Okay, thank you very much, Rad. We're going to go back to AC Chain. So AC Chain was a story that came out first on SGT Report. And they wanted us to believe, the title was, Breaking Bankers' New SDR Crypto Blockchain Will Enslave Humanity. And then when a lot of people questioned whether that was going to be the case, they added question marks to it. Now, the gist of this story is, someone had discovered this new token was being issued by the Chinese, and it was going to tokenize all the assets in the world, and we would all be enslaved because we would have no access to these assets. They'd be on the blockchain, and they were going to be issued through the IMF, through a global SDR. This was going to be the world's reserve currency. And the worst part about it is that Americans couldn't even hold this currency, and we'd all be starved out because the IMF would have an SDR out there that was tokenizing the world's assets, and Americans couldn't participate. Now, the story is ridiculous. The reason that Americans couldn't participate was obvious, that in these global token ICOs, this particular company was smart, and they realized that they were issuing a security. And anytime you issue a security, you fall under the purview of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, which means you'd have to register with the SEC, the last thing a lot of companies want to do. So they specifically excluded U.S. citizens. No conspiracy there, no attempt to enslave humanity. And then, as to the SDR, they were just pricing their token relevant to a basket of currency, which are in the SDR. A private company cannot issue a IMF authorized SDR. To prove the point, I can issue, and I did this, I issued a plea for donations based on the price of the SDR. And all you have to do to donate, all you need to do to donate to Smaulgld is, I could say, don't send me $50. I can say, send me 45 SDRs. And the way you calculate 45 SDRs, you take the basket, you figure out how much yen, how much Chinese yuan, how much British pounds, how much euro and dollars. You get the blended rate, that's the SDR, and you send me 45 SDRs in whatever currency you want. But no, this meant the IMF was authorizing this particular Chinese company to issue this global currency, which, first of all, the United States controls the IMF and all the voting. Second of all, the IMF would never, ever, ever hand over the SDR to a private company. Oh, you can't prove that because the IMF are a bunch of criminals and they do whatever they want to enslave us. And then people actually believed this story, and it got repeated, and repeated. Look at this one. You had this isn't even all of them. Explaining the AC chain and the mark of the beast, the future of blockchain, understand AC chain, the IMF's digital SDR, one world currency. Complete rubbish, as they say in England. Let's take a look at where AC Chain is today, 18 months later. This dominant national global currency issued with the blessing of the IMF, and that Americans would not be allowed to hold, which would impoverish us all, because all the assets would be in this particular company, and the United States would have no access to them whatsoever, and they were going to access American assets and tokenize them. We'd just be left stranded in America without access to this global SDR. Well, today, the AC Chain token is worth about 3 cents. And it trades about $475 worth of these tokens every day. That one is a big fail for 2017, 2018. AC Chain is nothing more than just, I don't know what you call it. That is clickbait nonsense. We did dollar collapse. We did the gold-silver ratio. Let's do the Economist cover. Remember the Economist cover? That was it. The Economist, they had shown, let's get ready. We got a global currency coming. And how do we know this? Well, the Rothschilds predictive programming from 1988. They put out a cover, and they like to put things out in advance. They like to play with us. And they know that a global currency is coming in 2018. Otherwise, why else would they have it on the cover of The Economist? Yeah, I don't know. Why else would they have it on the cover? Economist blackout. This ties into dollar collapse. Cashless society. It's coming. 30-year-old prediction coming true. Dollar collapse. Rothschilds induced global currency chaos. Tons of, the amount of people who must have watched that story, AC Chain story, everyone's predicting it. 30-year-old prediction coming true in 2018. Get ready for a world currency by 2018. Now we're going to hear the same arguments in 2019. Well, it was early. Just like Shemitah, we got our calculation wrong. It is really going to happen in 2019. Look at the new Economist cover. It is black. And that means that a global reserve currency is coming in 2019. And there will be a dollar collapse. Whew. Okay. And finally, the story that launched game over and game changer. Well, that is the gold-backed yuan. Yes, indeed. Late 2017, we heard that the gold-backed yuan was coming, and it was going to be a game changer. And there it is. Jim Rickards' gold-backed yuan spells end to the petrodollar. Look this one up and listen to it. They're talking about game changers and end of the petrodollar. And all you got to do is take your yuan, Saudi Arabia, just bring it right up to the Shanghai Gold Exchange and get your gold. Yes, indeed. This was a game changer. Gold set to skyrocket. Then we had the Money GPS. This one got 30,000 views. China's world-changing. This isn't game-changing. New system priced in yuan and backed by gold. They're always going to crush the dollar. And finally, this was my favorite. This was Mike Bologna, the game changer for gold. Now, he puts this video out, and he specifically calls out a comment I made under one of his videos that there was absolutely no truth to this story, that China never ever announced that they were going to do a gold-backed yuan. Why the idea is ridiculous to even contemplate. They'd be out of gold in no time. And he calls me out in this gold game changer, and he says, you want sources? I'll give you sources. And then he lists a bunch of stories that have no sources. You know, the ones that say, according to sources, China's going to do this and China's going to do that. Well, there it is, the gold, the game changer for gold. And this was going to create massive demand, and gold was set to skyrocket. And you know, with all of these stories, there's never any follow-up. You don't hear about AC chain anymore enslaving humanity. You don't hear about gold's back yuan game changer. You don't hear about, well, you do hear about the COMEX default every now and then. They're always predicting that one. And you always hear about the dollar collapse, because both of those are still possible. The dollar's going to collapse one day. COMEX is going to go down with it. All these stories, never ending. Big stories of the year. Gold, silver ratio, unsustainable. Economist cover. All right, well, that does it for the 2018. And, you know, they'll come up with more stories. They'll still have, they will always recycle the dollar collapse, and they will recycle COMEX default. They might even bring back gold-backed yuan, or maybe it'll be Russian-backed ruble, gold-backed ruble or something. Maybe they'll catch on to what I'm doing with reporting on Kazakhstan. Maybe they'll say Kazakhstan is going to crush the dollar and issue a gold-backed Kazakhstan Tenge or something. Who knows? But now what I want to do is get into a more serious part where we actually do analysis rather than mock clickbait stories. Let's take a look now at what happened in the year in gold. But first, we've got to get out of the way tonight's Moronica. Uh-oh. We got a moron here.
Presenting the distinguished international news commentator and foreign correspondent,
Smaulgld. This has been an extraordinary week in world affairs.
No, I told Hillary Clinton that that's moronic.
Now this is moronic. Mitt Romney, who lost to Barack Obama in the 2012 presidential campaign, is back. He's back as a senator from Utah. And he's due to be sworn in tomorrow as a junior senator from Utah, as the new class of congressmen and senators roll into Washington. And he thinks it's a good idea that he is going to write an op-ed in the Washington Post and then go on CNN today trashing Donald Trump. Okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with trashing Donald Trump. If you're against Donald Trump, have at him. Say what you want about him. Call him crude, rude, crass, not up to the job. That's fine. That's what politics is about. You're supposed to criticize your opponents. The problem is Mittens Romney has a long history with Donald Trump, and he did precisely that. He wrote this long article about how and then he tweets about it. Policies and appointments are only part of the presidency. The president must also unite, inspire us, and defend our vital institutions. And he's talking about his character. Now, if you're interested in character, your character, if you're going to start pontificating about character, then your character really should be beyond reproach, and most people's character isn't. So it's probably not a good idea to be talking about other people's character, even if the other person's character you find atrocious, just because, you know, it's the old people that live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. But this is particularly moronic of Romney because, first of all, he's a Republican. He's entitled to have these opinions of Trump, and many people do, but they keep them to themselves because that's not, he didn't get elected to be impeach 45. That wasn't how he ran. He didn't run to say, I think I should run to stop Trump. You have to remember, Romney, when he ran for president in 2012, asked for Donald Trump's endorsement, and he gave it to him. And then when Trump ran for president, Romney called him a con man and started doing the same type of thing, trashing him in public. Trump then endorsed Romney for Senate just last year, and Romney won. But before that, when Trump won the presidency, after Romney called him a con man, he actually interviewed and wanted to be Trump's Secretary of State. So here's a guy who's basically saying that Trump is the lowlife, he's terrible, no one should have anything to do with him, but he's got no problem taking his endorsements twice. He's got no trouble interviewing for the job. And when he ran for senator in Utah, he didn't say, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be the Republican who's against Trump. He didn't say anything about that. So here he is, first day on the day before the first day on the job. He goes out and he writes a long article trashing Trump with this back history. Now, here's what Romney had said back in 2016. If Trump had said 4 years ago the things he says today about the KKK, Muslims, Mexicans, disabled, I would not have accepted his endorsement. Well, there's a man of character. Okay. And then he says in February of 2018, thank you, Mr. President, for the support. I hope that over the course of the campaign, I can also earn the support and endorsement of the people of Utah. So he did accept his endorsement in 2018. And then today he goes on TV and he says that, what did he say today on TV? He goes on CNN. Now think about it. He goes on CNN and he goes to the Washington Post, two of the media outlets that are the most virulently against Trump. And he decides that's how he's going to get his point across. He says on CNN today, he endorsed me. I didn't endorse him. Okay. So Mittens is out there. Now, you would think, who is this geared at? Who is going to think this is a good idea? Like, who's going to think this isn't moronic? If you like Trump, this is complete moronic. If you dislike Trump, that doesn't mean you like Romney. I mean, Romney is the guy who put his dog on the car and drove it across country or something for a trip. And then he said, oh, the dog wanted to be on the roof. Didn't want to be in the car with the family. He's the one who said all types of things against the 47% of the country are all on welfare and you're never going to get them to vote for you. So it's not like he's a darling of the left or the moderates. But here's some of the reaction. Flake. A thoughtful piece by incoming Senator Romney. Now, Jeff Flake, of course, would say that. Flake pulled a similar trick. The guy ran as a Tea Party guy, gets in as a senator, and decides he's part of the resistance, and he's out now. But he actually thought this was a good idea by incoming Senator Mitt Romney. But these are some better reactions. This is Mitt Romney's niece. She's the GOP chairwoman. President of the United States is attacked and obstructed by the mainstream media and Democrats 24/7, which he is. For an incoming Republican freshman senator, i.e. my uncle, to attack Donald Trump as their first act feeds into what the Democrats and media want. It is disappointing and unproductive. Take it from a family member. That's pretty stupid if you ask me. I mean, it is moronic. And that's his own niece saying that. Let's see what other reaction we got here. Now, this guy, Palmer, every day he tweets Trump's day so far, and he tries to make it out to seem like Trump's going to jail every day, and he points out all the negative things that are being sent about him. So he says Mitt Romney is a corrupt shill for the wealthy, and he's willing to embrace extremist social positions wherever it suits his ambitions. That's his point of view about Romney. He's only attacking Trump because he wants to run for president in 2020. Bingo star. I hope Romney's words help topple Trump, but I award Romney no points. Of course. Note well, Mittens, virtue signaling to the left earns you no points. I mean, this is complete moronic. It's not like this guy Palmer, I don't even know his first name, is going to be, oh, we're for Romney now because he doesn't like Trump. No, go ahead, have at Trump, but we're not supporting you. And I think we have one more here. That's the Palmer report. And that is Daniels. And here, Mittens joins the resistance. There he is. He was on CNN today with Jack Taper, where he made all of his wonderful comments. All right, now, it's been a long time. Let's now get into, before we start, just a recap from last night, the gold and silver. And I want to show you, last night we looked at this gold and silver chart. And I showed this as a point of reference to show that silver is a spike and dive metal. You can't get more spiky or divey than that. And basically, the problem with those spikes are, they don't last very long. They go up and they come right back down. And also, if you look, you see that 1980 is about $50 and 2011 is about $50. So you gain no ground at all between 1980 and 2011. And we're actually, where we were back in 2008, 2009 right now, and the price of silver. But if you compare that to gold, gold had a spike in 1980. Look at the difference. Difference. Look at that. In 1980, it was $800. Well, it went up to $1,900. But let's put the two of them side by side so you can really see the difference in the long-term gold, silver. Now, the reason I use 1970 is when Nixon went off the gold standard, 1971, because gold was priced and fixed between 1934 by the Gold Act of 1934 at $35 an ounce, and it stayed there to 1974. So you can't even get a real apples-to-apples comparison of gold and silver, even though they're apples and oranges, because the gold price was fixed. But once the gold and silver prices were both let loose, you can see what happened in the 70s to the far left on gold, to the far left of the right chart for silver. They both started to move up. You can see they almost moved up exactly on the same curve. You see how from the far left of gold, you got that little, like, looks like a mouth goes up and then it goes higher. Well, you see what's happening there? It goes up to the height of 1980. But then, are you guys seeing this on your chart? Doesn't look like it's coming up. And then it just flatlines. But the difference is, gold, when it took off again, took off and stayed up relatively. You could see to the left. On the silver chart, since silver has spiked in 2011, it's just diving. It's just going down. And whereas gold, you could see it's regained its footing and is heading back up. It actually bottomed in 2015 and has been consistently above that, whereas we retested our 2015 bottom this year pretty much. So silver is not the same store of value that gold is. It's obvious from the charts, but it's not obvious if you listen to a bunch of pumper channels. All right, now let's get to the main story of the evening. This is gold versus world currencies. Let's start with the United States. There is gold versus the dollar from January to December, and we actually closed only down 2.1%. But you could see what happened starting in April, May. It was a steady drop all the way down to August, and then we almost ratcheted it back up. Most of that is because a good portion of that, we had a very strong dollar rally in 2018. So if we look at some of the other currencies, you'll see in most other currencies this year, the dollar actually gained. We're going to take a look now. Let's take a look at the euro. Gold versus the euro. Gold was up versus the euro this year. Up about 3%, I believe. And you can see there, it has a similar feel to it, the chart, where we went down in the middle of the year and then rebounded. But the euro has a bit more problems than the dollar this year, and the dollar was stronger. So you ended up with the euro having a decent year versus gold. I mean, gold having a decent year versus the euro. But let's move away from the established currencies. I want to show you the Russian ruble. Now, this is something, again, that people are going to find hard to believe. What did Russia do all year? Well, the Smaulgld reported that Russia was adding gold hand over fist. Russia added a record amount of gold to reserves in 2018. I believe the number was 262 tons. They accounted for 85% of the world's of the central banks of the world's gold additions. And you would think adding all that gold to your reserves would strengthen your currency. No. Look what happened with gold versus the Russian ruble. It exploded higher. The adding of gold did nothing to help the Russian currency. Why? Because, and I know this is hard for people to believe, that currencies are not based on how much gold they have as reserves. They're based on the function of their economy. This may be right or wrong, or you may not agree with it, but it's factual, because if it mattered, if Russia has the 5th most gold in reserves, as they do, then you would think they'd have one of the 5 top strongest currencies. They don't. They have one of the weakest currencies. But it does highlight why Russia buys gold. Not because they know what's coming and it's a game changer and they're prepared to de-dollarize and all that nonsense. No, they are the 3rd largest gold producing nation on earth, and they got a lot of gold in their backyard. And they know they got a lot of worthless rubles. So why wouldn't they turn them into gold? That's exactly what they did and have been doing for the past few years. It's not stopping their currency from going down. Gold went up 17.55% against the ruble in 2018. Had they held on to their rubles, they would have lost 18%. But instead, they were smart. They bought gold. Gold is the thing, not Russia. Russia buying gold doesn't make Russia great. Gold itself is the good thing. Having gold helps you, but it doesn't fundamentally transform your economy. It doesn't fundamentally transform your balance sheet. It doesn't change your currency, really. It's good to have. They're better off having that than something else. But as you can see, gold rose against the Russian ruble almost 18%, despite the fact that the Central Bank of Russia, which issues the Russian ruble, added 262 tons of gold and has the 5th most gold right now of any country on earth, over 2,000 tons. Now, what is 2,000 tons? We talk about this a lot. 2,000 tons is only worth like $90 billion. So even there, when people talk about all this gold and it's somehow important. The amounts that central banks hold are not that much. There's far more gold held by Indian temples and Indian individuals and Chinese individuals and other sovereign wealth funds and people in general than ETFs than there is at the central bank's vaults. But here's a good one. Argentine. Gold versus the Argentine Peso. Now, here's where you're talking where it makes sense to hold anything but Argentine pesos. For the last few years, gold versus the Argentine peso. Well, this year it doubled. There you go, from 24,000 pesos to 48,000 pesos, up 99%. The year before that, up 32%. Before that, 32%. Before that, 37%. Before that, 31%. This is a currency that basically you want to get rid of as soon as you get it. I went to Argentina, I think in the 90s. I made a mistake. I didn't know much back then about currencies, and I used to travel a lot, and you just turn your currency in, mostly in Europe, and you get whatever they had. And I went to Argentina. I bought some the Australs or pesos. I think they were pesos. And when I went to use them, they're like, what are we going to do with this? And I said, it's your money. I said, no, we're the dollars. I'm like, dollars? We're in Argentina. Like, yeah, we don't want that. So I ended up getting stuck with bringing home a few hundred pesos because they didn't want them. Once they heard my halting Spanish and my, they figured I was Americano, they wanted dollars and they wouldn't take the pesos that I had. So, but there you go. If you live in Argentina, you're foolish to hold the peso. You want to hold on to gold for sure. That doesn't mean you made twice your money. It means you didn't lose all your money. Now look at Australia. Australia had a bad year, the currency, and the Australian gold versus the Australian dollar. Look, you can see it was up this year. Up a little bit. No, it was actually up a bit. It's about 8%. So if you're holding gold in Australia and you're not going anywhere and you buy everything in Australian dollars, you made out this year in gold, whereas in the U.S. you didn't. It was up last year in 2017 as well, up 4.6%. It was up in 2016, 10%. It's actually been up every year since 2014. Australian dollar isn't doing that well, so you're better off with your gold. Brazilian real, where Jair Bolsonaro is, tropical Trump. Same thing. You don't want to hold Brazilian real. You're looking at a 70-80% increase over the last couple of years in the price of gold. I think last year it was up 16%. The year before, up 15%, up 33% in 2015. Brazilian real, not the strongest. Now, I didn't mention silver. Tomorrow night we're going to go through all the silver numbers. They're not as good. In many cases, as you can see, this year, gold rose against these currencies, but silver actually fell against most of them in 2018. British pound, same thing. You can see here the British pound. Not a smart idea to hold British pound through Brexit. And up 3.8% this year, up 3.2% last year. Same thing, went down in the middle of the year, then rose back, but you could see it rose back higher than the beginning of the year. So British pound, you were better off holding gold than pounds. However, silver was down 4.1%. We'll get to that tomorrow night. Gold versus Canadian dollars. Now, Canada has no gold. Oh, but they got it in the ground. Nah, they don't have it in the reserves. They sold it all. And Canada this year looks like gold was up 6%. You can see it ended at the high of the year because the Canadian loonie, I think it's around 74 cents now. It went down this year. And you can see that big rebound in October. Gold was going up, but the Canadian dollar was going down more. So, bingo. Gold versus Canadian dollar. Now, gold versus the game-changing gold-backed yuan. Well, if it was all that gold-backed and all that gold they have, you would think the Chinese RMB would be doing better. Versus the Chinese RMB, gold went up 3.5%. It was up 6.5% in 2017, up 16% in 2016. So the RMB is on a bit of a decline. And again, if you're in China, it makes sense to own gold. In most countries, even in the United States, if you're just going to put money in a drawer, it sounds like Over time, you're better off holding gold than currency. That doesn't mean you're better off holding gold than stocks all the time, but generally currencies lose versus gold. Why? Even if they are backed by gold, what's better? A currency that says you can get some gold, or we say it's backed by gold, or actually the gold itself. That's the reason the Bretton Woods agreements failed. The dollar was supposedly backed by gold, and central banks that had signed on to the agreement could come to the United States and say, I want my dollar backed by gold, so give me gold, here's the dollar. Well, that was reliant upon the United States fulfilling their end of the bargain. When you have gold, there is no bargain to be fulfilled. You already have your bargain. You have your gold coin, ounce, bar, ton, whatever you happen to have. Euro, same thing. You can see the euro, gold versus the euro, definitely up in the past year, about 2.5%, and didn't finish at the high, but still finished higher. Silver fell versus the euro. Indian rupee, almost every year for the last 16 years, you're better off holding your money in gold than rupee. What happened in 2018 is not unlike every other year, up 6.6%, versus the Indian rupee, 6.4% in 2017, up 11% in 2016. So you're better off holding gold, and that's why they exchange those rupees into gold. Let's go through a few more. Japanese yen, big year for the yen, actually outperformed the dollar. Gold was, this is the other big currency in which gold was actually down 4.7% against the Japanese yen, although it was up 8.8% in 2017 and up 5% in 2016. But you can see yen really strong at the end of the year. Now think about this. The yen and the dollar, two countries, massive amounts of debt, and yet their currencies are strong. Go figure. There's a reason for it. I'm not going to go through it all tonight, but maybe eventually it won't work out that way. But the fact that other countries especially want the dollar, that actually, even though it's for debt, actually makes it stronger. Counterintuitive, but it's true. Gold versus the Kazakhstan Tenge. Now there's one that, again, record amounts of gold flowing into the Kazakhstan treasury. The Kazakhstan central bank now has close to 50% of their foreign reserves in gold. Is it helping the Kazakhstan Tenge? Absolutely not. As you can see, the gold is doing very well, and again, makes sense. Kazakhstan has domestic gold mining production. Why hold on to Tenge, or Tenges, whatever they're called? Turn them into gold. It's not going to help your currency, but it's not going to hurt it either. We got a few more here. Did the Ruble. South African Rand. Now you would think that would be a powerful currency, right? They got all that gold down there. Again, against the South African Rand, gold rose again during the year. Having gold doesn't solve all your problems, doesn't make your government run, doesn't even make your money run. The only thing that makes the money run is a real classical gold standard, which we haven't had for over 100 years. That Bretton Woods thing doesn't really help. Adding gold to your reserves is of no help, really. It just makes sure that in a crisis like Venezuela, you can sell some of it. If the world runs on fiat dollars, having gold just means you have some value. Swiss francs. Let's take a look at gold versus a Swiss franc. Actually a little off, but that's not surprising, since no matter what the Swiss do to destroy their currency, they still manage to keep it relatively strong, no matter how many FANG stocks they buy. It was down 1.2% in 2018 against the Swiss franc. And we'll just stop with gold versus the Turkish lira. They're buying gold too. Another country that was buying gold. Well, that didn't help them either. Against the Turkish lira, it fell as well. Let's take a look at what you guys have been saying amongst yourselves, or what else you've been saying, but let's take a look in the comments. Let's get over there. All right. Mike Maloney just posted a new video. He's going to buy more OGG, says Roger. If The unsustainable ratio goes higher. Yes, well, from 2010 to 2019, 2020 was supposed to be the world's greatest wealth transfer. I remember that. I remember at one point around 2012 or 13, he said something like, by 2015, you'll be able to buy a single family house with some ridiculously small amount of silver. All right. I have my rocket ships ready, says De La Ville. Rad Vladley, title is very clickbaity. Yeah. Gold's game changer. Hidden secrets. All right. Hello, friends. Let's see. Rad Vadley, Correcto Mundo. Silver's been fully demonetized. Absolutely has been. The Bitcoin standard explains how gold completely destroyed silver as money. Actually, the thing with silver has always fought to try to gain some status as money. And it's usually, in America, was the Silver Democrats. They were trying to force silver into the monetary system. They knew it was inflationary. It was a concession to put it there. Silver's always been pocket change. It's never been where you stack great amounts of it. That's an American concept in the last 10, 20 years. The idea of silver as an investment metal. It's no different than copper. In fact, it trades closer if you think about it. Gold, platinum, palladium, they all trade around $1,000 an ounce. Silver trades at 14. I mean, copper trades, it's closer to copper and nickel and that kind of stuff. Again, I'm not against silver. What I'm against is giving it this status as it somehow, it's not even gold's little brother or sister, that it actually is as good, if not better than. I mean, that's just fantasy. You know, try to get engaged and say, yeah, I didn't want to get you a gold ring. Here's this silver ring. Good luck. Doesn't have the allure. All right, what else do we got here? Where are the comments? Silver is useful for industry, sure. Gold hit 1290. Where are we? Recent, says Pablo. I'm sure it cost a fortune in Australia. Hey. All right, dollar standard. Well, let's take a look. Are we moving up? No, the prices are pretty much flat in everything. Sometimes I take a look away and the prices move up, but no. Gold to Aussie dollar is unsustainable. Who knows? We've got a lot of Aussies on this channel. Prashanti Girl, Mate, Roger Henley. Let's see. AC Chain was a doozy. That was, but what bothers me about these things is they throw these things out, and I think it's the audience is more to blame than anyone else. They get the entertainment value, or they actually believe it. I don't know why they would believe it. They click on it, then there's a whole cottage industry of 50 or 60 other channels making up the same story. And then if you point out, this is nonsense, this isn't true, you're a shill for the Rothschilds. You get all this kind of nonsense about a disinformation agent, or you can't prove that this BS is not true. And yet, people flock to those channels. They want to hear this stuff. Cue my mom. All right, let's see. Bond yields have crashed. I'm not looking at that right now. Hold on to your mugs, Rev2. No audio. It's the collapse. It's YouTube. They don't want my message heard. They don't want Smaulgld's message heard. So you all need to donate to me to save this message. Everybody right now, stop what you're doing. Run over to my Patreon and donate as much as you can for the cause of truth. Yeah, Lewis is still talking to himself. That's a good point right there. News alert. Oh, Rad. I'm sorry. I actually had that chart and I didn't show it. Rad's making a very good point. I like this point, and I had it in my notes. Not my notes. I pulled together some. Rad's making a very good point that probably, I don't know if I haven't seen the comments to it yet. But let me show you what he's talking about, because I do have that. Now, where did it go? Let's see. It's not there. What he's talking about is the lows of Bitcoin over the years, not the highs. Everybody's talking about how the price of Bitcoin has fallen. While I'm looking for that, let me give you a Smaulgld mug shot. There you go. If you want mugs, while I'm looking for this thing that I copied, go to Smaulgld.com and order your Smaulgld mugs. But I actually have that tweet that he's mentioning here. And I thought I had it in the intro. Let's see. Economist cover. Price of cryptos. Here it is. Okay. So this guy very cleverly points this out. I don't know who he is. Ben TRX. And what Rad is saying is he said, don't look at the all-time highs. Look at the yearly lows. That will tell you the growth in hodlers. So in 2012, the low of the year, I hope it's showing up on your chart, your thing there, is $4. In 2013, the low for Bitcoin was $65, even though the price eventually hit $1,000. But in 2014, the low was $200. And then 2015, $185. In 2016, the low was $365. 2017, the low was $780. And in 2018, the low was $3,200. So you've got an increasingly higher low every year. Forget that it went to 20,000. Now, I then noted to this gentleman's piece here, I had written, yeah, and this year's low, 2019, is 3,600. And right now, maybe that might not hold, but right now we are at 3,900. So it's a very interesting way of looking at it. Thanks for raising that, Rad. All right. Please turn the audio back on. We need the game-changing news, says Jonathan Riga. Okay. Yes. Lynette Zhang. Yep. Percenty girl. Roger Henley, before the sound went off, you were talking about giving away free mugs. You don't need a free mug. You made your own. I love the mug you made. You made your own plastic Smaulgld mug, Roger. AC chain is cheaper than a ball and chain. Yeah, that was the one that was going to chain to her. How come we don't see update on the humanity enslaving AC chain SDR issued by the IMF? Oh, my. Let's see. Andy is a self-promoter. Oh, Andy. You're talking about Andy Hoffman, I see. Let's see. Yep, Ripple is a bankster coin. Yeah. The only problem with that, right, is, and I'm not advocating. I understand all about XPR Ripple, unlimited issuance, centrally controlled. But that is a bankster coin. And, you know, when people take that point of view, that's the stuff that goes up a lot. Just saying. I'm not advocating it. Not advising for it. It's just, you know, when they want something to go up, they promote it. I mean, look at Tesla. I can't believe it still even has multi-billion-dollar market caps. All right, let's see. I guess Lewis doesn't subscribe to The Economist. I would never give the Rothschilds my money. First of all, the Rothschilds don't even own it. I think there's 3 owners of the Economist. I don't even think they have a majority stake in it. Yeah. Let's see. Cliff High you're talking about here. The dollar will have to collapse. Have you seen all the other currencies? I don't know what you mean by that. But my point is that all the fiat currencies are all valued relative to each other, and they all suck. They all... I mean, China runs so much, and when people try to say, oh, but China owes the money to itself, nonsense. It's debt and it's non-performing. Oh, but they have all that infrastructure and they're productive. Wrong-o again. When you have infrastructure that you don't use, and then the economy collapses, you're never going to use it, and that means it's not generating any income, and it becomes a maintenance money pit. So it's pointless to build a lot of stuff that there's no use for, no market use for, just to build GDP. Yeah, game changing. You got to watch that Jim Rickards interview. Just a minute and a half. He's game changing, and he's talking about it like it exists. Oh yeah, well they'll just walk into the Shanghai Gold Exchange and they'll take their yuan and they'll get gold. Oh, if they got a problem, they'll just hedge it on the futures. It's all there for them. It's a real game changer. Yeah, real BS. All right, what else do we got here in the comments? You gotta go fully, says Rad, before you come back to reality. YouTube monetization. Well, you know, I don't even have that on here. I sell mugs. In fact, you guys are not even looking at a mug. I'm losing money here. If you guys aren't buying mugs while I'm putting them up on the screen, I need to get into full promotion mode right now. Smaulgld mug shots. Let me show you the ever classic Smaulgld super classic mug shot. But the clever one I like is the Smaulgld shot glass mug shot. How about that? There is the Smaulgld shot glass mug shot. Again, all over at smaulgld.com. You can order directly from Smaulgld. I will personally ship. I go out almost every morning with a armful of boxes to ship out the classic and super classic mugs. They come with priority 2 or 3 day shipping depending on where you are in the United States. And the other mugs have to be ordered through the Smaulgld store, but the links are all there. You can check it all out. But remember, the most important thing is to be part of mug life, because mugs are real wealth. All right, let's see. What else do we got? Have to think outside of dollar terms. I do. I think in terms of mugs. I measure my wealth in mugs. Miser says my mug protects me from all this. Now, yep. Wow, rah-rah, Rasputin, what are you looking at? I'm not up to date here. You got a lot of stuff here. You got markets moving. Let's see. Well, the dollar's down. Crude oil's down $1. You're right. A lot of stuff going on. Litecoin is up. I take comfort in my mug, says De La Ville. Yeah, I think a lot of these stories, I mean, it's hard to ascribe to anybody's motive. You don't know. I mean, there is a monetization motive. There are people who generally believe stuff. You tell them something, they're conditioned to want to believe it. They're like, yeah, the IMF's a bunch of criminals, so they must be monetizing, securitizing tea and putting them into tokens to enslave humanity and making sure Americans don't get any. Yeah, that makes sense to me. You can't prove it's not true. I mean, what makes somebody think like that, or what makes somebody not able to think? It could be they actually believe it. They could be they want to believe it. They could be that they really just can't figure it out, and that's the conclusion they came to. Or they figure, oh, if I promote some kind of pumping stuff, that there's some fear out there, maybe you'll subscribe to my newsletter, or maybe you'll buy some gold or silver from me. I don't know their motives, but I look at it and I just don't understand why anyone falls for it. I guess it gets presented in a nice package like it's somehow true. Yeah, EMP, doom and gloom. Now that one, see, anything that's possible, you should be prepared for stuff. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying you can never have a collapse. I'm never saying that. I'm saying that a lot of these stories, that's not what you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about AC chain enslaving your humanity. You don't have to worry about a COMEX default. COMEX default is not going to make you rich because it's not going to happen. Dollar collapse will eventually collapse, but you better worry about all the other currencies collapsing first and what the impact of those collapses might have on the global economy and then, of course, on your own currency. It's not like the dollar is just going to one day just roll over because it's game over. You need mugs. Rick Romney, Aussie property. Everyone hates Romney. Yeah, unbelievable how he managed to pull that one off. Trump can be offensive. That is why I like him. That is the most refreshing thing about him, is that he's supposed to behave a certain way, and he won't. He's recalcitrant, I guess is the word. Mitt. Roger says, I'd be embarrassed to label myself with the name Mitt. I call him Mittens. It's short for vomit, says rah rah Rasputin. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of stuff here. I'm glad you enjoyed the segment there on Romney. I can't understand. And then, you know, that's the old cliche, you get the government you deserve. I mean, there's nobody else you can vote for in Utah. I mean, what is special about him? I mean, he hasn't, I don't know. Lots of stuff on. Well, you guys really had at Flake and Mittens there. But you know, you don't have Ryan anymore. You don't have Flake, you don't have Corker, you don't have McCain. There's a lot of ones there you don't have anymore. And you don't have Gowdy, Goodlatte. Keep a long stop on him. China plays the long game. Yeah, the fangs are really hurting, that's for sure. Rad says Apple going to 43. Z-Spec. Smaulgld, when the explosion happens, the ratio will have to close, the commodity boom. Well, the ratio will come down. I mean, it does come down and it does go up. But the idea that it should be 1-to-1 or 9-to-1, it's not based on anything other than silver is rarer than gold, or silver comes out of the ground only 9 times at a greater rate than gold. So what? Picasso made more paintings than I did. What does that even mean? Relative rarity doesn't mean anything. Gold comes out of the ground 10 times greater than platinum. Okay, gold's more expensive than platinum. That's because platinum isn't a monetary metal. Aha, well, nor is silver. Anyway, those are arguments, and it's okay to make them as like as a point, but really all it is it's a cherry-picked fact that is imbued with meaning that it doesn't necessarily deserve. Oh no, but it's 9-to-1, it's 9-to-1. Okay, it's 9-to-1. People, these make the assumption that because it's rare, it's relative rarity, the assumption is that that gives it its value. Well, it doesn't. It could. Doesn't have to. And then if they see for 10 years it hasn't given its value, I don't know what to do. If reality's staring you in the face and some guy on a YouTube channel is telling you it's got to be 9-to-1, who are you going to listen to? Oh, a guy on a YouTube channel. He knows what he's talking about. It's a game changer all at once. Back this coming. Yep. Michael Goodrich, Mike Baloney's video calling you out is how I found your channel. Well, at least that's a good thing. I mean, I didn't ask for that, and he's never, ever, ever retracted the fact that there was no gold-backed yuan. Called me out as if I was making up stuff by telling him that there is no gold-backed yuan. There is no source for that story. It doesn't make any sense. And yet, they created an entire fantasy around it that it was going to create massive gold demand. And I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay. Well, speech. When gold goes up, silver and variable file. Yes, that's my view, and that is historically the case. Gold miners have 2 to 5 leverage to the gold. Silver miners have 2 times leverage to miners. Yeah. All right, but it's true. Let's see. I wonder if Mike Maloney watches Smaulgld live streams. I don't think so. Now, you get to a point where people don't want to learn anything. They just want to reinforce what they say. So the best thing you can do, you don't have to surround yourself with sycophants, meaning people just are yes men, but you surround yourself with people who say what you say. And they could be smarter than you. They don't even have to be sycophants. As long as they can help you reinforce your position. And it is very, very powerful, that echo chamber. That's the reason you have these big channels. Talking about Q my mom, and talking about gold-backed yuan, and talking about dollar collapse. And there's a market for that, and the more they tell each other that it's true, and the more everybody sees that other channels are saying it's true. I can name 15 channels off the top of my head right now that have 20 to 500,000 subscribers, and they all say pretty much the same thing. They're all on the same page, the same hymn sheet. All right. Let's see. Rob Rasputin says it is also a monetary metal. I assume you're talking about silver. Actually, it isn't. It used to be. That's what I think that the silver people can't get out of their heads. Same with the gold. Gold is money, period. Silver is money, period. Silver has been money for 5,000 years. Gold has been money for 5,000 years. The word for silver in French is money is argent. They repeat stuff as if it means something just because they repeat it. Silver is not used as a medium of exchange, hasn't been used as a medium of exchange since the 60s anywhere in the world. What about Venezuela? What about Venezuela? I don't know what the relevance of Venezuela is. If you're looking forward to a collapse, there's a lot of things that'll have money. In a functioning economy, silver is not it. Gold is not it either. Does that mean gold and silver are not valuable? No. In a non-functioning economy, for transportation, horses rule. In a functioning economy, we have trains, planes, and automobiles. A horse is a nice animal. It's a good pet. You can ride around your backyard in it. Gold and silver no longer perform a monetary value. Oh, but they will in the collapse. Okay. And again, you can believe that, but it's one thing to believe it as a possibility. It's another when you believe it as a fact. And that's when you have silver derangement syndrome or gold derangement syndrome. Because you believe these things, not just the fact of them, but the consequences coming from those facts. That somehow it's all going to work out and you're going to be able to buy your city block with your monster box of silver. Okay. All right. Let's see. What else do we got here? 90 billion. There's something. Put user in timeout. I don't want to put anyone in a timeout. What is this Yahoo nonsense? I mean, what am I on here? Google. Apple already makes phones in India. No, they just started. Well, yes, they're making they're going to start making the high-end phone in India. That is true. All right, I'll check. Game over, says Z-Spec. Yes, indeed. We need a crypto bubble. I think you're going to get one. These bankers are very tricky. They love creating bubbles. They can't create economies. They can create rising asset values. I think we're going to have to wind this up here. We still got some more comments, but it's good when you talk amongst yourselves. You don't have to listen to me. Let's see. Anything else? That was a good interview with Rory. I don't know what that one was. I guess that was me. Ah, Seth Shepard. Where are you? Seth, I got to send you your mug. It came back. It came back. Where are you? I had to find your... Yes, when I sent you an email, maybe I have... Send me at Smaulgld@gmail. I have your mug. It's wrapped. The address is incorrect. It says it's incorrect. I need you to email me the correct address, and I will throw it back into the post tomorrow, Mr. Shepard. Thank you. All right, let's see. Who's talking about Leor? Who's Leor? You need a game-changing mug. Yes, everyone needs game. Mugs bring hugs. Who's Leor? What is this Leor stuff? Shepard is going to stick with the physical metals. Yes, indeed. Rara Rasputin bought Hecla. That's the American silver miner. Great Panther. That's a Mexican silver miner. Endeavor Silver. That's Cook's silver miner. I don't know Avino. Keeping 20K ready for next slug. A lot of those are really low. I'm not advocating anything. I don't give investment advice. I don't tell you to buy or sell anything. But if those things were to pull off themselves off the canvas, they would go high. 20K, says Seth. If you had 20K, you'd buy one Bitcoin, so that'll throw you back less than 4,000. 50 Litecoin, that'll throw you back, what is Litecoin right now? That'll throw you down about 1,600. 10 ETH, that'll throw you down about 1,500. And the rest in gold and silver evenly. Well, that's not bad. Let's see. I know gold might pop to 1,500 by year end. Yes, and if it does, then that is my scenario or my prediction that silver will skyrocket this year. It gets over 20, 21, 22, because it will follow gold to a certain extent. But you're presenting facts that make people uneasy, says Z-Spec. That is correct. Don't do it on purpose. It's just the way I think. Lewis, do you play poker? Not often. I've played poker, but I am not a poker player. Let's see. Yeah, Rara Rasputin says if gold goes to 1,500, gold miners will double or treble. That's always the case. You get leverage in the miners. Although, yeah, I guess you got that. Even in 2016, they went up for a brief shining moment when the prices of gold and silver went higher. It does mean stuff. I don't know what that means. It's his full name. All right. Utah. All right. Pablo says he's waiting for mugs to bottom, watching the mug charts. I'm developing a trend. You know, Pablo, you're going to get priced out if you do that. You're going to have one mug, and you run the risk of that mug breaking, and then mugs are going to be so expensive, and there will be no mugs to be found. Mugs will go no bid, no offer, and the wealth transfer will bypass you. So you better get your Smaulgld mug today. All right, everyone. I want to thank you very much for joining me this evening. All the regular game changers and some new game changers, and we will see you tomorrow night. We'll do silver. I promise not to have a big intro but I needed to get the 2018 bogus stories out of the way. Tomorrow we'll just do silver and whatever news happens during the day. So thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow. What's this? Content ad. Mail.